Good morning, everyone. Lynn Voss here from GoldenCare. We are going through a live demonstration of our Stratecision tool, a tool that we provide as a complimentary service, a complimentary tool or complimentary access to appointed agents. And I will be going through and showing you the power of this tool and how it can help you build your business. So thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day today to join me. Hopefully you'll be taking away some new insights and some new tools that you'll be able to utilize and put to work for you. A little bit of background. I'm Lynn Voss. I'm in marketing support at GoldenCare. I work alongside the regional directors here, running quotes. The Stratecision is among several of the things that I do, the supply orders, running carrier illustrations using software like this to provide these quotes for agents. So I support the regional directors in their recruiting efforts and their sales and marketing. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a good insight on this tool. So first and foremost, Stratecision is actually a third-party vendor. It's a tool that GoldenCare is partnered with that allows for side-by-side quoting and comparison of a variety of different products. So we primarily use the long-term care, but our version also allows for quoting and comparison of short-term care as well as hybrid products. Since I focus on the long-term care insurance, I'm just going to go ahead and do the live demonstration on that. And where you can find it, just like you saw me do, if you go to goldencareagent.com, I just typed that directly into my browser's address bar, and it will open on our agent website. Where you can find the Stratecision tool, it is the first item in the drop down under tools. So this is pretty much all inclusive. There's a very short demo video here. It allows existing users to log in. You'll see that I do have credentials already in. If you are a new user, you would scroll just a little bit further down until you come to this new user registration. Once you've completed all of the form fields and you hit register, it will give you a confirmation email. Now, we do have a single page Stratecision setup explanation, and this is something that I'll include to all of the attendees when the follow-up thank you email goes out. This will actually talk about where to go to get started, tips for setting up your username. One thing that I've heard quite a bit is that when you create a new username, you have to, well, first, I recommend using something that you're used to doing, something that's easy to remember. If you are used to using a full email address, by all means, use that full email address. If you're used to using just a pretty typical username, not necessarily a full email, go with that. Whatever you use, you will need to use explicitly what you enter upon account setup. You will need to use exactly that going forward. So you are able to specify your username. Once you hit the register button, unfortunately, it doesn't give you immediate access to the tool, but it will give you a confirmation email. Once you receive the email, it's typically sent just within a few moments. That confirmation email will give you a system generated temporary password. Because it has some unusual characters and sometimes they're quite lengthy, I recommend copying and pasting that information into that existing user field to be able to gain access. And once you're in, you'll see here right at the top that you're able to change your password. And this will allow you to customize it and make it, again, something easy to remember. If you do ever lose your username or password, um, you can certainly call the GoldenCare team. We can certainly get you in. We can help you regain access to this quoting and comparison tool. You would just have to call our office and we'll walk you through. But I really recommend saving it in a secure location, both your username and password, or even save those login credentials in your browser. So that should make it easier to gain access going forward. Now, this is actually something, like I said, it's a third-party vendor, and we've embedded the tool within the GoldenCare site. For anyone who may have had a paid Stratecision account prior, you may remember that it does not work on Macs. And there may be some compatibility issues with newer versions of Windows, but since ours is based on a website, it should run in any browser and it should be compatible with all computers that support web browsing. You know, even tablets and smart devices that utilize touchscreen, it should allow you to use this tool. So this is a great way to access pricing, especially if you don't have all of your carrier login credentials or passwords saved to access the carrier specific pricing. This gives you a really nice way to access that and have a printout or something that would allow you to see the plan design and the resulting premium. Stratecision does a really good job of keeping their information up to date. It does fall on the insurance company to provide timely updates in terms of benefit changes, pricing updates, anything along those lines. But it's generally a really strong, fairly accurate pricing system. In most cases, I've seen the premium usually it's matching to the penny, and if not to the penny, it's only a couple cents off either direction. So once you're in, this is actually the tool itself. There are a couple tips down below. I may be covering much of this just during this demo itself, but it does start on the agent screen. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling things in. As you can see, you can include as much information, you can be as detailed or as vague as you'd like, but the very minimum that you would need to progress through the tool is the agent name. As a little side note, this tool does allow you to compare both long-term care and short-term care, as you can see back on this button that I had clicked earlier. This one does actually open a hybrid tool, and as you can see, it lists just a couple of those different things. The setup is very much the same, very similar, but on the LTC STC comparison, this very small drop-down box here is where you would need to click. So we're just, like I said, we're going to stay just keeping on the traditional long-term care insurance. And usually the default that is marked here, selecting the application, that is going to allow you to run those pricing quotes and to enter benefits. So it defaults there, but I will cover the web advisor section here after a bit. So like I said, this is the least amount of information that you would need to progress through the tool. And as you move through, you'll see that you're actually moving through the tabs along the top. So the second screen is where you would enter your client's information. Of course, it allows you to enter a date of birth or age. It does need one or the other, but to keep things simple, I'm just gonna pick a state. just pick an age and pick a state. You'll see below applicant A, there's a small checkbox. This is where you would click in order to expand the client tab to also include a spouse's information. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to be quoting a single individual. So that will be enough to allow me to move forward. The very next screen is where you will find the carriers within our tool that you will be able to quote. Now, if you've been in the industry for a bit, you may notice that the list is fairly short. Overall, it has been a shrinking industry, but those remaining are among the strongest. So what I recommend doing is choosing the most complex carrier first. The more options that are available within that carrier, it'll actually, on the actual printout later on, it'll show just as much as what appears with the first carrier. My typical habit is to quote the Mutual Care Custom Solution Plan. In our portfolio, it is one of the most complex products. As you can see, it bumped us over to the very next tab. At a later date, as you're going through this quoting process, you can go back and revisit some of these tabs. But I will warn you, being that it is embedded in our website, there is a chance that it could time out. After about 20 minutes of non-activity, it will actually time out. And to get past that, you would simply just have to refresh the GoldenCare screen. So this will allow you to choose the benefits from the carrier that you're looking to see quoted. I'm just going to put some very basic information in here just to get a basic starting point, something that is comparable across some of the carriers that I'll be quoting. While you are looking on the screen, you'll see that it is moving within the window. There is more of the tool available, and if you're not seeing it, you can certainly use the bars along the bottom and along the right to hopefully be able to see it all. Once you've entered everything that you need, I typically recommend to calculate premium. If you're checking it against the carrier-specific software, sometimes I do, again, just to confirm accuracy, that will give you an immediate notification if you've missed something or forgotten to include a rider. If you are going through and you don't recall what certain benefits are, the great thing about this tool is that you can click on any of these options and it will give you a brief explanation of what it is or how it works. Here you can see the options that are included in the assisted living facility. The carrier itself does that as well, and I'll use these bars to move over. It gives just an overall explanation of everything, including everything that shows up in these smaller bubbles. So once you have everything set and you're satisfied, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we are. Once you're satisfied with everything that you have in the tool, I will go to the compare button along the bottom. Some of these will give you some additional information. There was a tutorial button on the previous screen. Help will give you some FAQs and help work you through troubleshooting. The illustrations button will give you an interesting multi-page report, but if you do have access to the carrier-specific software, I do recommend using that. At GoldenCare, we encourage agents to submit a copy of the illustration with the application, matching the plan design and the elections on the application. It just helps to make sure everybody's on the same page, plan design and pricing. The Stratecision illustrations, because it's a third-party vendor and because there is a potential that it is off by a couple cents, we typically do not recommend that the Stratecision quotes be submitted, but again, the carrier-specific illustrations. Now, to be able to quote and compare, I'm going to hit the compare button. This will lay everything out on the screen. Eventually, what you see here will be put into a nice 2-page print off. As you can see, it just lists the highlights. Now, I did start with the most complex company, but not all of those details are going to be listed here. I'll show you a bit later when we view that PDF, the printout. It does have a little bit more detail near the bottom. But while we're looking at this, again, you'll see us moving through the tabs, how to add an additional quote or an additional company is you would scroll down and simply hit the Add Quote button, and it will bring you back to the Policy tab. So we did start with the Mutual of Omaha Custom Solution Plan. A thing to note, you can use this system to put together multiple plan designs. And the tool itself will do a good job, as you can see, trying to map over the benefits that were used, or it'll try to set up something comparable to what the previous quote had used. This is handy when it comes to comparing multiple companies. But it's not a perfect science. It is not perfect in the fact that with all the variations and the nuances and the differences between different carriers' plans, Stratecision does its best, but it's not always, well, it's not always perfect. So it is a powerful tool, but you do still need to understand some basics with the plan. I'm just demonstrating here. You can put multiple plan designs from the same company up on the one screen. But instead of doing that, I'll go through and add a different company as well. And this will give you a live demonstration of what I mentioned in terms of some of the differences. So where I had used the select health rate on the initial quote, there's just some things that didn't carry over. So I will go ahead and update this so that way it should be a fairly accurate comparison. Again, I recommend using the Calculate Premium. And that told me right away that I had missed including something important. And I had missed the inflation protection. I had used 3% compound on the previous quote. So I will go back and calculate premium again. When I am satisfied with the elections for this company, when you hit compare, it will put this quote up side by side against the previous quote. For single individuals or married couples where only one person is applying, this tool does allow you to quote up to 6 side by side. Given the fact that the LTC industry is shrinking, it may be a little difficult to come by 6, but it is important especially if you're quoting the multiple plan designs from the same carrier or from 2 carriers. You can put up to 6 side by side on that comparison screen. So as I go through again, adding yet another company. This one is the National Guardian Life Essential LTC. Like I said, there are some differences, and this is one of them. It's even more apparent when you switch over to the comparison screen. But having this tool doesn't replace product knowledge, although it does help. I'm going to go through and calculate premium. And once I get to the compare screen, this is what I mean. There are different underwriting classes, but then a daily benefit as opposed to monthly. Um, you can see that listed here. And when you get to a point where you're satisfied with the comparison, instead of going through and adding another quote, you can either print directly to the printer that you have set up on your computer. Because I support the regional directors, I'm often emailing these illustrations to agents. And I'm sure as an agent, you're likely emailing some to consumers. Um, I typically click the print as PDF. And this is the screen that I keep referring to as the printout. So it is 2 pages. It goes through and lists much of the information that we were seeing on that comparison screen within the tool. But if you go to the second page, it includes a block that it's just called Other. And this is where you'll find some of the more detailed policy information. Mutual of Omaha, for example, has monthly benefits, as does the Thrivent long-term care plan. And as we saw above, the NGL policy only offers daily benefits. But in this other block, you can see different things. If you're taking advantage of flexibility and making some minor changes to the defaults, this is where much of that will also show up. So again, talking about some of the nuances between plans, I know that the Mutual of Omaha plan includes a 25% cash benefit. The Thrivent long-term care plan does also offer cash, so you can go in and modify these quotes as you're going through. If it's not quite what you wanted, you can go through and make some changes, calculate the premium, and then go back to your compare screen. So you can get it laid out with the different plans and the different companies just so, and then you can go through and print to PDF so that way it is available to deliver to colleagues or clients. What I may do, I've shown you that print off, that PDF, but I'll bring your attention back up along the top. We've gone through each of these tabs, and there is yet another, and it is called search. This will allow you to search based on different criteria. So it's not, as we went through before, it is not picking out a company, putting in specific benefits, and then generating that compare screen. This will actually allow you to see a couple other options. And I'm going to make some minute changes here so that way it all works and another company is shown. Once you've entered the information, you can go and hit new search. And this will actually bring up, well, let me go back. Let me go back and search again. Okay. Okay. Now, hopefully making that one additional change, it will show up with yet another different company. Now, like I'd mentioned, we had gone through and quoted each of these, not the secure solution, I'm sorry, but the custom solution, but it shows yet another company. Now, it's not a perfect science. Again, Stratecision does a great job trying to create as close to an apples to apples comparison as possible. That is not always the case, as you can see. And for the custom solution, Stratecision used $180 per day, as opposed to others using $170. So this is a great way to start your search, especially if you know what type of plan design your client is looking for. You can start your search, but in my opinion, it's never as accurate as going through and personally selecting some of these different things and comparing it. Like I said, this is a powerful tool, but it doesn't replace actually having some product knowledge. Once you have seen the options based on your elections under the search, you can go through and show details. And that will open the actual benefit screen that we've seen before. So if I go through and change some of the benefits to match a little closer with what we'd used before, what you can do, of course, calculate premium, but then what you can do is hit compare, and it will add it into that screen, into the compare screen with the others you had gone through and manually added. So it's pretty handy, especially with the few carriers that are still offering traditional long-term care insurance, reinforcing that you've checked pricing with all available options. This really helps to add to your validity. It really helps to show that you are that LTC expert. One thing to note is that as nice as these side-by-side comparisons are, again, it still never competes with the carrier's own illustration software and the carrier's own illustration itself. So while these are great, it's more or less that a tool that you can use in the research stages while you're doing your homework, and you can show them to clients, but usually the carrier's illustration is preferable. So you can, like I said, you can either print or email, even from the tool itself. You can go through and print or email. So this is the primary use I see agents using the Stratecision tool for. But the thing I pointed out earlier, way back on that first tab, there's another part of Stratecision that is really, really handy. Not as often used, but it is really, really handy. The default, like I said, was the web quote to access the pricing, but Web Advisor gives you a whole different, it gives you access to a whole lot of different information. So the client information in this case is not as important because this will allow you to choose the companies and find out background information about the company itself, the financial ratings, premium classes. This gives you a little bit more detail and background about the company. So I did go through that a little bit quickly, but if you go back and see the list of the policies, you can elect multiple policies. If you go through and highlight one, you can certainly add one at a time. Or what you can do is highlight one, hold the control key down on your keyboard, and highlight another. In fact, we'll just go ahead and do three. By doing that, you can select multiples and you can add the policies to be reviewed in the next step. When you hit next, like I said, this is where you'll see some of the information, the demographics, the financial strength, some of the policy details. This is where you would select that information. So again, the same trick for choosing multiples. You can hold control down on your keyboard, and you'll see my computer, as I release control, I'm holding it down again. As I release control, it does actually uh, give a visual. But once you've elected some of these different things, we'll go ahead and choose a couple more. You can add benefits and it will move those options over to the right. So this is a little bit of background information. Perhaps I want to see some actual benefit information. So again, holding the control button, you can go through and elect a whole lot. There's an entire list. Once you have your elections, you can add benefit, and it just adds it to the bottom. So once you have several of these pieces of information selected that you would like to find from those companies you'd chosen, then you can go and hit next. And this is going to give you a different type of a compare screen. So pieces of information about some of these carriers, issue ages. So this is really handy. It lists all of them up side by side. You can see that Northwestern Mutual uses age nearest. The NGL policy does as well. These all issue coverage for applicants up to age 79. It goes through and pulls financial strength ratings, specific policy information, including the benefits, the plan length, the elimination periods. There's so much information that you're able to choose from. And just like before, when you're quoting and comparing pricing, you can go ahead and hit print and it'll open a pop-up window and you can choose how you would like it to show up. So I almost always hit PDF because I'm typically emailing these. And once you hit print, it will generate, similar to the pricing comparison, it will generate a PDF that you can keep and use as a personal reference sheet. I actually do this myself. I do generate these and send them to agents. Depending on how many things are elected, scroll back up, depending on how many things are elected from the benefits screen, that resulting printout can end up being pages long. So you can learn quite a bit of information. Application fees, they actually have some different options in terms of pricing or sample quotes as well, limitations, benefit triggers, a whole lot of information can be found through here. So again, the primary difference is when you're on that very first screen, using web quote will get you to the pricing and being able to put benefit information in for specific carriers' plans. The web advisor allows you to see specific carrier background and plan information. Now, of course, the GoldenCare portfolio lists more than just, traditional long-term care insurance in our GoldenCare portfolio, we primarily have three. And again, it's a result of the shrinking industry. We have the Mutual Care Custom Solution and Secure Solution, both with Mutual of Omaha. We have the National Guardian Life, as well as the Thrivent long-term care policy. You will notice that there are others in here, including the federal LTC program. Another strength of the Stratecision tool, even if these other policies are not in your portfolio, the pricing and having access to the carrier and the plan information gives you insight on your competition. So if you are competing against another advisor or another agent who may be quoting the New York Life policy or Northwestern Mutual, you can still have some insight on how that plan works or what the marital discounts are. This is such a handy tool to have. Another thing that I will note when you are looking at the screen, you'll see a session number in the very bottom right corner. Now, if you are experiencing issues, if you are seeing errors or a policy that you know should be available that is not coming up, if there is some issue and you need to troubleshoot with Stratecision's developers, this is the code that will allow those developers to see exactly what you were seeing. So they should be able to go through and review your session to help explain what went wrong or to help identify an issue that needs corrected. So this is another important thing, especially if you're having some issues. Take note of this in case you're ever struggling or see something that is an error. So I know I went a little bit long today, but I think I covered just about everything. Like I said, the Stratecision tool, I did focus a lot on the long-term care and the short-term care tool. We do also offer the hybrid plan, and it's very similar, but it's just with those hybrid policies that you see listed there. We do still offer the short-term care within this same tool that I'm showing you, just with this one drop-down. Hopefully this gives you a good place to start, another tool in your arsenal that you can use to help build your business and set yourself apart as the LTC or STC or hybrid expert. So I hope you learned some handy tricks. I hope you're excited to use this program. Again, we offer this as a complementary tool to our GoldenCare appointed agents. If you feel uncomfortable running these side-by-side the quotes or comparisons, feel free to reach out to the GoldenCare marketing team, your regional director, John Randall, Jeff Clark, Chris Paulson, the marketers, marketing support, myself, Manny Rosen, Corey Fountain. We can certainly help walk you through setting up these comparisons, or we can run one for you and just send it over. So if you haven't gone out to our GoldenCare website, this is just one of many, many tools and resources that we provide. You know, the LTC CEO software, various sales incentives. We have links to live and pre-recorded training. If you have not gone out to this website, I invite you to take a look. It's something that hopefully will elevate your business and give you access to everything you need to be successful. And if you have any questions, of course, give our office a call. You can reach myself or my team at 1-800-842-7799. Like I said, be on the lookout for that thank you email. We will have a link that you'll be able to follow to access this Stratecision tool. It will have a link to that setup form that I referred to and showed earlier, as well as the CE voucher to show our appreciation for your interest and for your attendance. Thank you all again for taking a little while out of your day today, just a few minutes. And I hope you learned something new. Take care, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Check out our website, goldencareagent.com, or give us a call at 800-842-7799.